Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I whip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bunny. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I whip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bunny. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.
Hello to you guys. I think that I have gone, as far enough to include the YouTube link so you guys can follow me on YouTube. Welcome to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. I am Dr. Jefferson, and I now want you guys to hit the like and the subscribe button. Go ahead and share the content really quickly. We're going to get into a couple of issues around, I guess, the manosphere, right? That's a huge thing now. Like, a lot of people have been asking me to kind of do some reviews and to do some content and, things like that around Derek Jackson and Kevin Samuels in regard to their position on giving women advice and things like that. What's going on, Money Boy Trey? You guys gotta thank Trey for my interesting outro. I played a little bit of a feature of it just a moment ago, but he did a really good job, and I'm really, really excited about that. This is one of my absolute faves as far as like motivation for folks. Have hope, be strong, remember you are loved, never give up, and live in the moment. I think that's definitely appropriate. Let's put it back up. Let's do that. Okay. That'll be a constant reminder that that's what you guys need to be doing over the course of reviewing this content. If you guys are catching me on the replay, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button, and make sure that you share the content and let me know that you're catching me on the replay as well. So for those of you who are live, I have some questions for you folks. I want to know how much you value the advice that is given to you by people who are not of the same sex as you. Or should I say, who don't identify the same as you? Because some people that are the same, of a different sex, their sexual orientation is different, their gender identity is different. So, how do you guys feel about that in general? I want to play a snippet from this video that Mario J did a while ago. I really do, but I had a really hard time getting to the particular video that I want to play. So I'm going to just paraphrase. And for those of you who already are following him, I'm sure you've already seen the video, but if you have the video, just kind of post the link for me in the comments. That would be amazing. If you guys are linked with him, just share this, with him real quick and then have him send me the video. I don't think he was on when I messaged him a little while ago and asked him to send me the link, because I was trying to find it, download, but it was the wrong video. But so I have been seeing a lot of reviews by a couple of content creators. I saw some commentary from the official urban therapist. I saw some commentary, of course, from Tommy Sotomayor, and that I think is what the official urban therapist was reviewing. And then I also saw the commentary from Mario J. Now, a couple of things. Tough Love is a very, very valued content creator for me. I feel like he does touch on topics that most people want to shy away from. And that's what my channel is all about. I'm all about having the conversations that are very, very difficult for folks to have, because they unveil some kind of really uncomfortable truths for us. Now, the Black community needs a lot of work. We do, in order for us to move to a place to where we can cultivate and step into our true greatness. That is without argument, period, point blank. So whoever wants to kind of lie to themselves and make themselves feel a little bit better by not stepping into that truth, then go right ahead. I'm going to keep the same energy, and I'm going to make sure that I continue to put out content that creates a conversation, a dialogue amongst the Black people, so that we have a greater value and a greater position for who we are, how we behave, and what shapes our culture, right? And what that looks like. You said leave your commentary out. What? How? When? You mean on the what? I didn't leave any comments out. I didn't see you did. I didn't see that you did any reviews. Did you? You should come on. Click the link. Let me share the link real quick. You don't have to put your camera on, or you can just type if you want to, but I haven't seen it yet. See, that's what you got to share it with me, because that's typically what Mario does. Like, he'll share the thing. And then also, when I was trying to get on your show last night, I had a problem with accessing it. So that's the link for anybody that wants to come on the show and talk and give their commentary. So, but the question's out there, so you can definitely answer it. How do you feel about taking advisements as to how you move and operate as a person in your gender identity from outside influencers or outside people that don't walk that same path every day? That's the question. So a while ago, and when I say a while ago, I mean years ago, right? When people ask me how I feel about Tommy Sotomayor, it goes to my initial coming into contact with him. It was before he blew up and all that good stuff. And very much like I feel my sentiments about Kevin Samuels' delivery or whatever, I felt even stronger about the way that Tommy Sotomayor addressed his insecurities and his inadequate attachments and inadequate ability to relate with Black women. I felt like that negative energy was unnecessary. Therapy was definitely something that he needed to experience, definitely something he needed to embrace, definitely he needed to kind of get to the root of what was causing all of this distress that he had against Black women. Accountability is one thing, responsibility is another, right? So I'm not about playing the blame game, but I'm definitely about holding people accountable appropriately. And that can look a lot of ways, okay? You know what? I'm going to talk about that, because for the first time, I mentioned yesterday on Trey's channel that I happened to be trying my hardest to to stay tuned in to a Kevin Samuels episode. And I tried 2 of them. I did the whole domesticated women thing. You can't train a woman to do, but you know, it is what it is. I tried to do that, and then I went and I viewed another video that Kevin Samuels made in the beginning. This guy is entertaining, you guys. he is entertaining. What can I say? What can I say? What can I say? So a lot of people who typically follow my content, I think you guys are going to have some very, I don't know. You guys will probably want to ask me some questions about how I feel about this content that I recently have watched. Definitely not subscribing, but I've tried. Okay. You know, I want to be on the person that's an objective ear and eye. So in watching Kevin Samuels, I saw some things like he's a very interesting person. And I think that maybe he's unraveling a little bit, because that's why I put that there. Because, you know, looking at some other content from his previous videos, and then now looking at some content post his interview, not only with Tasha K, but other influencers like Vlad TV and things like that, I'm seeing a little bit of a different person. Like, I really am. But we're going to talk about that too. Okay. So a couple of things here. The manosphere. Who subscribes to the concepts of the manosphere? Is anybody on here a part of that whole movement? Is that a thing for any of you? If you're a male viewing this channel, and if you're a female viewing this channel, right, and viewing this show right now, do you know anybody, any men who have subscribed to the manosphere? I'm curious about that. So if you guys are here, I definitely would love to have a conversation. Pull up, as they say. Click the link. Let's see. No, the military doesn't train women. The military trains women and men on tactics to use in combat. Yeah. You could tell. Let me tell you something. So Trey says, for those of you who will be listening to this on my podcast, let me read some of these comments. So Money Boy Trey says, Kevin isn't used to being asked questions about himself. You know, he did very well in his interview with Tasha K. I don't know how many people watched that in its entirety. I don't, because I know that it was pretty lengthy. It was hard for a lot of folks to stay engaged, but I have to admit that was the only time that I've ever watched anything in its full content that includes Kevin Samuels, because I like Tasha K. I like the fact that she is, you know, all extra and super messy. She definitely is not the person that you would want as your best friend, because she can't hold water and she's just got a way about her. But I think that way is quite entertaining, you know. And yeah, we're gonna talk about that too, because I've seen some content. I think it was in May. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're a person who is a part of the manosphere, right? I think it was in May when you guys held that conference. So there was a global conference for the manosphere, right? And that was interesting in and of itself. And so this content that I'm going to talk about today, it's going to all come full circle, because here's the thing. People behave the way they do for a reason. People don't do things just for no reason, or like I always tell folks, not for nothing. Nothing in life exists by itself without a purpose. So everything happens for a reason. We're all very, reactive in some way. We may not be emotionally reactive folks, but we're going to respond to the things and the experiences that we have in our life appropriately. There is something for everything, something that has to happen as a result of another thing happening. So, and it's on a continuum. So when we look at Kevin Samuels and we look at the way his disposition has been over the course of him giving advisement to women, and I know a lot of folks are going to criticize me. Y'all are going to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I've not really been a Kevin Samuels fan, hasn't been a part of the manosphere. Manosphere is anti-feminism and anti-woman pretty much, You said pin the StreamYard link in the chat. You play too much. I don't know anything about that. Don't you just hate it when people do that? No, I don't know anything about this technology stuff. I don't know how I would do it. Let's see. I know how to go back and make it like a part of edit it on my thing. Pin user, put user in time. Oh, no. I'm not putting myself in timeout. Yeah, no. Okay, well, guess what? When you gave me specific instructions, it just told me to put myself in timeout. Yeah, it's not working for me. I don't do technology well. Delete comment, block user. That's what it tells me to do to myself. But yeah, no. So here is the thing, okay? Manosphere had this conference, and they had some pretty nice looking men on there. I don't know how many of you guys were, watching little snippets of the speeches that they gave and things like that. I did it for entertainment. What can I say? And I was entertained. It was pretty interesting. What can I say? So they had some quite articulate guys. Some of them you would have never known that they had the history that they attested to having. I guess as a result of being a part of Kevin Samuels' whole movement, they've shifted gears. They've started wearing suits and stuff now. They look pretty good. The ones that were dressed down, they look pretty good. And I guess that's a thing or whatever. But yeah, here is my thing. Mario J did a very powerful overview of where things are right now. Now, I have some mixed views. Like I said, I feel like women have an innate need for the guidance of an older male. If you guys are paying attention to the people that call into Kevin Samuels' show, and you're not being a person who just is hating him because of all the crazy rhetoric that he endorses and some of the things that he does, then you will find there is need for him. If you look at the behaviors of women in this generation, what do they call them? Generation Z, Gen Zs or whatever, XYZ, I don't know. But whatever. If you look at these women of today, if you look at the behaviors of today's society in general, apparently there is something within the women that are a part of the Black community. There is something that says there is, that maybe valuation of the woman has shifted. The behaviors have shifted for sure. Courtship isn't a thing. You see all sorts of men. I'm a person that has like over 25,000 followers and on social media altogether. And I'm in between pages. I'm looking at the things that people are posting. I'm observing the behaviors of people and things like that on Facebook, Instagram. I'm looking at people and the way that people interact with one another. What I've noticed over the last couple of years, since folks have been forced to be in the house, right? I have this working theory called coronavirus quarantine syndrome. So it's actually when people become more eager to connect as a result of them being cabin fevered. Okay. And so you're seeing quite the opposite now when it comes to interactions with potential partners on the opposite end of the spectrum. You see more men that have seen the interactions of women, I guess, online, or maybe they've seen some of the commentary that women have left online and things like that. And as a result, they're opting out. And so they're disgusted by these women, and the women are equally disgusted by these men. You understand? So, thank you. So, I'm curious, like, where is this all going, right? Like, what's happening if the men and the women no longer are interested in one another, and the only thing that they're doing is coming to the table with arguments around, you know, how pitiful the opposite sex is behaving in the dating interaction and that sort of thing. If the only thing that you can do is come up with complaints, what's the solution? Anybody got a solution? No, not at all. That's the reason that Kevin Samuels and Derek Jackson and what's the other guy who's like a mimic of Farrakhan, Dr. Umar, that's why they exist. Cynthia G, what's her name? What is her name? Tanya TKO. That's why these folks exist. Oh yeah, I'm not on my phone. That's probably why. So you think it's leading to, no, of course not. So here's the thing, homosexuality, even though Umar, I watched him make some comments and I'm saving that for that particular show. Oh God. But even though obviously Dr. Umar thinks that, you know, women and stuff and men become homosexual as a result of their sexual traumas in early childhood and things like that, that's not true. That's just, it's simply not. Period. But you say my solution to men is to find a woman that allows you to lead. And that's a great way to sum it up, right? And it's not necessarily about her allowing you to lead. It's about her permissiveness with herself. So permission giving starts with us. Doesn't start with outside influences. It starts with ourselves. We have to be able to give ourselves permission to be authentic in our journey of becoming. Okay? We have to be the kind of people who are honest with ourselves as we are becoming, as we're shaping the permanency of our personalities. Yesterday I talked to you guys very briefly about personality disorders, right? Because that was the first segment of many segments I'm going to do about personality disorders. And we're going to talk about that in a lot of detail, you know. Borderline personality disorder is literally this generation. Okay. You know, we have a generation that are filled with people that are deeply insecure, and they're either turning out to be the narcissistic person in a relationship, the codependent person in a relationship, or the borderline personality person in a relationship as a result of the failure of the parents to do their job when they should have done their job, right? And the reality is this: we're in this whole Gen Z generation of dating is shaping society in a pool of people that are just confused. That's the reality. As a result, they only know how to follow. Nobody knows how to lead, you know? So, you know, it is what it is. You said content from Cynthia G and TK and Tanya TKO is filled with verbal diarrhea, nothing uplifting. Yeah. I can't say I disagree. I can't say that I wholeheartedly disagree. Okay. I can't. Mm-mm. I can't. But I will say that they use opportunity. There are teachable moments in every single opportunity that they have missed. I will say that. And I have reached out to Tanya TKO before she started getting so big to try and give her some guidance as to a more effective direction that she could head in instead of the directionality that she has found herself landing in, because I could see that landslide coming. And she had great potential then. Hey, she didn't reach back out to me. What can I say? You know, advice is free. Sometimes you got to help folks out, but when they don't want the help, you can't make them. They say you can drag the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. That's very true. So you said, question to Black women who bash Black men to advocate swirl. What do you mean? Are their platforms owned by white, Latino, Middle Eastern, Asian men that advocate and try so hard to convince their men to date, court, or marry Black women? Clarify for me what you mean by the swirl thing. I may be a bit inundated. So, and here's the thing. When I asked you guys the question, nobody answered me. So nobody answered the question of how you feel about getting the advisement as to how it is that you should navigate, being your gender, whatever that looks like, from people who aren't that same gender. So I'm still looking for an answer to that question. I want to know how you guys feel about that. Okay, says divestment swirling or dating outside of your race. Okay. So let me go back to her question real quick. So do you think that Black men should not advocate for other Black men to have successful relationships outside of their race? I guess that's a deeper question. Because here's the reality. I just don't believe in race. I don't believe in race. There is no such thing as black and white, because guess what? Black and white only exist in America. For the rest of the world, literally, you're American. That's it. That's it. So when you go to another country and you get ready to decide to shift your citizenship to be a citizen there, you're not a Black American. You're American, period. American citizen. So I there are certain things that I feel like America has got to grow out of, and that's one of them. As a person who's very culturally diverse, I think that there's a lot of diversification that America just simply will not welcome. And as a result, these are things that prevent them from moving into more productive spaces there where they can be more effective in the way that they interact with the rest of the world. I don't personally feel like men should avoid dating women outside of their race, culture, whatever. You said you pay them no mind. So if a woman is telling you how to be a man, you're not taking her advice. Black women are the leaders of the swirl movement, not Black men. Okay. I could see how that's so. I don't know though, for a fact. I'll say that. This is the thing. I think that people should date whoever they feel that they are compelled to date. I also feel like people should take advice from whomever they feel that they need to take advice from. I talked about Mario's video for the fact that Mario presented it in a way that I feel like it was the most effective. So Mr. Tough Love is Mario J, okay? And he, in his video, what he says is women are sick and tired of taking advice from men as to what they need to do to be effective in the dating game or in being themselves. I'll add another point to that. Women in general, in this generation, the women that calls Kevin Samuel's show, they're sick of taking the advice not only of Kevin Samuels, not only of Derek Jackson, but they're just sick of taking the advice of anybody. They don't want to take the advice of anybody. You saw clearly when Monique said something about the abundance of young women going outside with bonnets on and house shoes on and those kinds of things. You saw what that response was. That response was that, oh, well, I wish that Monique or anybody else would come and tap me on the shoulder and tell me that I'm not dressed appropriately to be outside my home. So it says that these young women that are in that particular age group, and the comments are just through the roof. It's just crazy. But it says that these particular women just simply don't want to be advised by anybody. And it's not that they don't want the advice of a man. They don't want anybody telling them to be or to do or to think or to move in any kind of way. They feel like they know it all. They are literally the epitome of what identity crisis looks like. Literally. But typically between the ages of 14 to 17, that stage of identity crisis. And that's sad. However, you know, it is what it is. So I talk about the psychology and the importance of understanding human development in all of this, right? The reality is this: when a person fails to thrive in a certain area or stage of development, it affects their ability to step into and thrive in the next phase of development. So the reality is these children, and I use that term because that's the most appropriate term when we're talking about their level of maturation. But these children are in the smell yourself phase, right? I know everything, so nobody can tell me anything. What happens when a kid turns 14? They feel like the world is theirs and they know everything and their parents cannot tell them anything. That's the reason why you notice that parents struggle more to parent teenagers. It's because in their mind, their id and ID and super ego are all struggling to come full circle. Yeah, literally. So it's harder to parent a teenager because these teenagers feel like they really just don't need anything. They don't need any advisement. They know everything. And now they're here to tell you what is and what isn't. And so these people are stuck in that stage of development because they never finished it, because they never came out of it on the end where they really did have a good sense of self, because there are other attachment injuries that obviously were at play in younger adulthood that contributed to the outset of that phase of development. So they've never gone into the next phase of development in young adulthood, where normally you're going through identity crisis in a different way, as the world has now given you some experiences and exposures that shaped your perceptions of reality that you thought you knew from the 14 to 17 realm as you come out into this world and try to apply those things. And when they don't shape out in the way that you expect them to, you typically would go through this form of identity crisis where you're now moving out on your own and then learning that the world isn't as you thought it was. But as a result, you go back to those wonderful people that help ground you or provide a foundation for your understanding in life. And then now you're welcoming their knowledge and wisdom and insight. But so these kids have not stepped even into that phase of development. And many of them are still stuck because they're in their 20s. If we pay attention to who is calling Kevin Samuels, who is pandering to this whole internet fame of Derek Jackson thing, Who is protecting this guy, Kevin Samuels? Where are they developmentally? Emotionally matured people don't do these types of things. They don't have an innate need to go and protect Kevin Samuels at all costs. They don't have an innate need to protect the brand of Derek Jackson, because Derek Jackson is human and he makes mistakes like everybody else. Because at the end of the day, matured human beings know that. We all know that. However, we're all entitled to be disappointed at a person that was rendering us executive level advisement as to how every other man that we had the opportunity to date, every other man that you saw was not good enough because he doesn't value you. Because this is how I know that he doesn't value, because he's not doing these things. He doesn't value you. Forget the fact that people can express themselves and their love and the way that they move in relationships in different ways because they're different people. Forget about individuation, right? Forget about all of that. He must move like this because, ladies, that means that he doesn't value you if he doesn't. So let me go here. Can you elaborate on your lack of belief of race? Okay, so race, like I said, is specific to America. It literally, so if you have a world, right, and the world is filled with people, and the vast majority of the people are living in one country, let's just say that, on one continent, we're going to say that for the sake of argument, right? Let's say America had the most people in the world, the entire globe. They all lived here. And race was a thing because race defined how we classified or characterized the differences in people. Because that's what it's about. It's a classification system that's meant to draw the line of delineation that say this is what's different about this group of people versus this group of people. That's what it's about. Then that would be a universal practice everywhere because the vast majority of all people in existence, human existence, they lived in America. So it's a real thing. It's a whole mood. It's a way of life. It's a way of being. So the reality is the majority is not America. And the rest of all of these other countries, all of the rest of the world, have no classification system that includes race. Because the rest of the world is intelligent enough to know that people, human beings, human specimens, Homo sapiens, they come in all shapes, sizes, colors, shades, all that good stuff. So race isn't a thing, just culture. So if you're African, you could be white, brown, orange, black, whatever, but you're African. You decide to go and take up citizenship in Europe, then you're an African European. But you're still European by way of Africa. And so your kids are now European because they were born and have naturalized citizenship in Europe. You get it? So African American, when race was first a thing, made sense because those people were wholeheartedly not really citizens, but slaves, but they are descendants of Africa and they're migrating to America. And African American is a real thing now because we have lots of African people that are migrating to America to become citizens in America. And when they do become citizens of America, that it makes sense universally. Black American doesn't, because you're just American. So you've been conditioned with the traumas of the people before you. And that imprint is definitely prevalent in the way that we move and interact with people here in America. So if you think that the classification of a man is effective, if we're talking about the skin color, then you are sadly mistaken, simply because a man can be various colors over the course of a lifespan. So that would still be an inadequate way to encompass what draws the line of delineation in a man. Cultural classification makes more sense simply because based off of your culture, you're predisposed to certain things. American people, both white and black, have very similar predisposals. They do. They do. There are sometimes some cultural indicators when they are transferred from one country to the other, right? That create a higher level of risk to certain things because you're still a part of the conditioning of your culture of origin. So then that would make more sense. But, excuse me, that answers your question. I agree with that. Nobody can correct a black woman in America. Mostly they can't be. They don't take advisement from anybody. So when we think about it, good advice, though, in and of itself can be rendered by anybody. But when you decide to be the end all be all of the solution to a group of people that do not identify with you, then that becomes the problem. So I think that what I hear Mario saying in his post, what I constantly hear so many people saying in general, is that even though there is a lack of accountability amongst Black women, and I think that's very clear in America, even though there is a serious lack of accountability amongst Black men in America as well, it's quite ineffective to approach that solution by way of appointing a spokesperson that does not quite identify on the levels in which these people need to be led on. Let me clarify. There was a guy back in the day when I first came in contact with the Tommy Sotomayor type. And I won't mention his name, but I did talk to him before I did this show, and I asked him to come on, but neither here nor there. But he and I exchanged very, very, very strong views on a thing that he had created, because this is where all of this started, just to kind of let you guys know. Tommy Sotomayor is definitely at the very beginning of the toxic masculinity that presented very strongly in the online presence of for Black men. So there is this group called Black Men Being Brutally Honest with Everyone. And he took that and made something out of that because they were really following his insights. You would have thought that he was an entire troll. Some of the things that he was posting. But I do know that some of you follow him, and it is what it is. Everybody has an opportunity to grow and evolve in life, and hopefully that guy is in a more mature space. I recently heard some content that made me feel a little bit differently about some of the things that he's saying, because it's coming from a more pragmatic stance, and maybe he's just more educated now than he was then. But it is what it is. But I'll say this. If we place a higher value and pedestalize a woman, let's just say me, right? And you want me to represent Black men in America. What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm an entire woman, for one. I'm not a gay woman, for two. I'm not a transgender woman, for three. So I have no experience in the male ideals in general, right? I was raised by a guy. Great dude. But that still wouldn't contribute in an effective way, because that one man is just one man. So I have no real life experience in being a male. I don't. I mean, I could have been exposed to many great men over the course of my lifespan and still not be a good spokesperson to represent the males or their interest. I can speak to the type of male that I would want in my life, or that my friends would want in their life, or that people I know would want in their life. But still, that I guess that idea, right, and my position would be very much subjective, because I'm the person in the experience. So everything that I give you is going to be extremely biased. That's the problem with Kevin Samuels' approach. That also was equally my problem with Tommy Sotomayor. That's definitely my problem with Dr. Umar Johnson, now that I'm actually finally hearing and seeing something that he has an opinion on. So the problem is this: you cannot shape the world or mold the world to your ideals and expect for the world to just bend to your will. You have to allow the world to be what it will be. You have to allow things to evolve, and as things evolve, you can evolve with it in whatever way you choose to. But that doesn't negate people's right to feel and be in their experience as they feel and are in their experience. There is this one thing that Kevin Samuels does that grinds my gears. I don't even think I have to repeat it or state it. I'm a person that works off of pragmatics, and I totally understand that in Kevin Samuel's twisted little mind of reality, that men who are high value must look like they are an NBA player. There are millions of women in the world, billions of women in the world, perhaps, who are not looking to date an NFL player, an NBA player, a sports newscaster. They're not. They're not. The value of a man, because I'm so sick of hearing this. And even though he likes to say, I didn't come up with this, women came up with this in the 80s, because that's when six figures became a thing. We all know that. But women didn't come up with that. Men did. You guys have your own perceptions of what's going on in your reality. That's the problem. That's what men have. And so you perceive that women want you for your money simply because women from the 80s were holding men accountable for being providers. This is what men have innately done for ages. It's a whole thing, people. It's a whole thing. That's just it. So a woman expecting you to be a provider does not equate to a woman only looking at your value from a point of your finances. A woman looks to her man to be a person that is more than capable of leading and guiding and cultivating what it is that they are building together. And that is their legacy. So a woman is looking to a man for confidence in his role as a leader. Yeah. Let me solve the whole lingering confusion. That's what she's looking for. Even these young women that are very misguided, that are very confused. Look at Cardi B in her relationship with this guy Offset. Why do you think things got difficult and she was ready to leave? It wasn't the fact that he was a whole hoe out here in the streets. She knew that, but she had a certain way that she expected for him to self-monitor himself so that it reflected that he was an ideal leader for that family system that they are building. He got plenty of money. What you talking about? It's not your money. Your money does not give way to you being able to explore your options, as Kevin Samuel says. Like, there are some things that when they are said by Kevin Samuels, they just simply don't make sense because they're not pragmatic in the schema of long-term relationship building, strong bonds, okay? Insecure bonds, sure thing. But strong ones, yeah, no. So you say women innately want men with power, and money usually comes with power. Wrong. Power in and of itself is a complete separate entity. Sometimes wealth does not equate to money. Wealth equates to many things, and women want wealth in a man. Longevity is achieved through wealth, not financial stability. Wealth oftentimes will include financial stability, but it won't be the primary thing there. Men have to be wise enough to know when and how to lead, when and how to stand in front in their position, when and how to stand to the side in their position, and what that looks like. So these are things that women are looking for. But also these are things that come from and should come from a wise man. So if you have a man that is insecure and he is appointed as your leader, right? Appointed as your leader, and you as an entire movement of men are following this guy, right? What does that do to the propensity of your survival and your success in relationships if he falls off that pedestal by way of him doing the things that he says that real men don't do, i.e. Derek Jackson, i.e. Kevin Samuels? The moment that someone wanted to say that Kevin Samuels was gay, they were targeted. They just were. And the thing is, if there is no truth to people, right? And the things that people say, right? You don't go after them and try to humiliate them and break them and tear them down, because you will have confidence in where you stand. I don't care what someone says about me. If I know that I'm right, I get confirmation that I'm right when they come for me. That's just what it is, because people react very hostilely when, with high hostility when they're emotionally moved by what you've said about them, because it definitely is their truth, and they didn't want that, that truth to be revealed. Plus, Assad said he's powerful because he has influence in Washington. So his power and his money are from two different things. His wealth, though it may have gained him financial stability, doesn't come from finances. Obviously, his wealth that allowed him to accumulate financial stability or an increased amount of money is knowledge. Do you see how it's connected? So it's the know-how, because a man who knows how to build, a man with a lot of money is a man that has no value unless he knows how to invest and utilize those financial resources. I'm going to say that again for those in the back that can't hear me. A man with a lot of money and no know-how, no intricate knowledge of financial management has zero worth to a woman that is looking for a man who is wealthy. That's why you see a lot of people who are dating these NFL players, who are dating these rappers and things like that. That's why you see them moving in and out of those relationships, because the stability is really not there. What you saw is that they were financially on top, and at some point they became financially on the bottom. They hit rock bottom and they didn't know how to get up. As a result, they started using substances and other harmful ways to manage and gauge their lack of success, but it's not beneficial for the relationship or the stability of the relationship or you or them. But that's what I'm saying. They're already lost. They're lost because these people have had to de-pedestalize and re-pedestalize these men several times. Okay. When Derek Jackson lost his platform, you saw that vulnerable platform kind of navigate or gravitate more towards other people. And it kind of spread out. That's how this Kwame Brown guy really got his footing underneath him, because these people were looking for something else, some other kind of content to follow and engage themselves in as a result of the distress that they experience after finding out that Derek Jackson is an entire fraud. Okay. Kevin Samuels as well got a huge boost because obviously this guy must be right, because he's been talking about women, and this dude has been telling us that as women we're entitled to be queened and crowned and all that good stuff, regardless of what we do and how we manage ourselves and things like that. So Kevin Samuels must be the friggin' answer. Let me go over there and follow him a little bit. You know what? I'm gonna call in. Yeah, he harassed me, made me feel bad, but I'm gonna stand strong because this is what I need. This is obviously what I need. He obviously is right. He's saving my life. He is. So just because Kevin Samuel says some things that are crazy and off kilter doesn't mean his message doesn't hold validity. There are several things that he said definitely that holds validity, which is why his platform is out there, because he's kind of going off of what the world in the entertainment industry is giving him to go off of as goals or whatever, although they're very unrealistic for the average lay person. You can have a person who makes six figures. Six figures is not hard to accomplish. It just isn't. Agreed. But I feel like when you have that person that's making that six figures, what's the value of the person? What can they do with that money? They can't, if they don't know how to properly invest their money or whatever. Don't call this man's hand small. I haven't even seen his hands. So I know nothing about basketball. There is time to simp and time to... I'm so done. I'm so done. I'm beyond done. I'm beyond done. You know that simp is a term that was really populated and gained ground when Tommy Sotomayor and all of this manosphere guys went over there to that platform, and he really started a bill. Just saying. But no, let me get back to this, because this is really important. When I had that conversation and I talked about the differences of opinions that I had with this guy that I was talking about, right? He came up with this idea that men, if they were real men, only operated in accordance with what they called man laws. And I'm like, what? What kind of man needs a man law? Because men naturally lead. From what I understand from the man that raised me, contributed to my life and my being, right? Yeah, men don't need other men to tell them what to do on a day-to-day written based on a unwritten interpretive law guide. What kind of stuff is that? That's like a code. So if they made money, it doesn't mean they have a financial literacy. No. They could have been working for somebody. And then when they lose their job, they're losing their ground because they don't know how to invest it. Well, no, I'm not saying he created it. I'm saying it took off then during that whole movement, because that was their way of lashing out at men that didn't agree with the Soto Nation thing. That's what I'm saying. That was like, what, 2008, 2009? So pastors are delegated to be the authority that gives guidance as to what the instruction of God has in the book for man. That's not to say that he is the leader of man. Says that he's the representative interpreter for what the laws of the book are. Just for clarity. And somebody told me that, and I don't know how true it is because I don't follow him like that, but somebody told me that Kevin Samuels was a preacher. I don't know. He dresses up nice. Doesn't mean that he's a pastor, though. But, you became a billionaire working for someone. No, I didn't. No, I really made the big bucks when I started working for myself. Yeah. I mean, I retired good working for the government, but nah. Mm-mm. Financial literacy is something I came into the game with from my father. You see what I'm saying? So these are things that you gotta have. You know, these are skills you have to have being a person. So not a man, not a particular woman, but being a person. There are certain levels of education that you have to have, certain things you need to know about. Parents are responsible for cultivating and shaping personalities of very productive human beings in society. So if you have a parent that is doing their job, that's your only one job, by the way, people that have kids. That's your job. That's one thing. Can be done a lot of ways, but that's it. He said the black community's fastest God. That's a misconceptualization. Thank you. But so, oh, okay. But still, here is the thing, okay? To bring this all full circle, women have a natural ability to follow the lead of men that they deem worthy. That's a woman thing. And to be honest with you, the position in which a woman leads from, a man cannot teach her these things effectively by himself. He has to take the foot off and allow her to manifest these particular qualities in and of her own right. I know this because I was raised by a guy. Period. Great leader, definitely would tell me all the time, that's not your place. You're not supposed to do that. Things like that. And that's the reason a man cannot guide and shape a woman into that position. You have to have the balance. So you've got to be able to observe at some point a woman in that role and then be able to ask the very difficult questions that you're not getting adequate answers to when you're engaging the man, because the man doesn't have those answers. So when you ask a man, well, why do I have to sit in a hot car and wait for my door to be opened by him? I can open my door myself. Like, there's nothing wrong with my hands. It's hot in here. Like, he ain't moving fast enough. Whatever, right? A man has no question, but that's your position. I open the doors and you sit right there, because that's what women do. Men open the doors. Let me open the door, right? A woman, however, can give you the explanation about what it means for you truly to be rested in your femininity by way of securing your understanding and your sense of self, and understanding what your position and your role is as you add value in the lives of the people that you're connected with. Women can give you these answers because they are a woman. However, as I said before, the women of this particular generation are outside of influence, guidance, structure, or whatever, because they feel like they know it all. Their entire kids out here in the street. So the reality is nobody can advise them of anything because they got all the answers. But somehow they're still single. Men, understand this. If you're going to appoint a man to be the authority over you, that says something about you. That's kind of where all the conversation about the alpha and the beta men started to kind of be introduced into conversation. It boils down to this. Even though there are so many crazy different definitions, and you guys have just come up with your own stuff, and it's just real interesting to me, just adapt the language to make it fit your agenda. That makes sense. Yeah, it made sense for somebody. But the reality is this: when you compare, there are no comparative analysis of an alpha male and a beta male. It just means that one is more apt to follow other men. That's what that means. And one is not, because he's a natural born leader of other men. Just like if you were to look into society and other animals, you look at the lion of the kingdom, of animals and things like that. Okay. That's what I'll say about that, because it's too long to kind of get into that and really explain it in depth. So I can't with you. So here's the thing. I said people who lead, right? They know how to lead from their position. So to adhere to advisement it's not the same as following. Men simply do not follow other men when they know what their role is, whether they're an alpha or a beta male. They have to learn how to take the proper advisement of. So that's what I mean by beta males are naturally apt to follow because they're trying to find somebody else to lead initiatives or to give advisement or instructions on initiatives. So they don't want to delegate authority. That's just kind of, it's not their strong suit, right? Doesn't mean that it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just the thing about differentiation. People have different personalities. Okay. Some people are natural born leaders and some people are cultivated leaders. And so that's just what that is, period. So, what I will say is this: Kevin Samuels may be the spokesperson for all of you guys out there that are experiencing extreme responses to your traumas. The reality is, the entire, what do you call it? Manosphere is a collection of people who are trauma bonding. That's what it is. Trauma bonding is a real thing. You've experienced significant trauma in your relationships and your dealings with women in the past, and they have made you feel a certain way. Totally get it. Go find a therapist, okay? Not Kevin Samuels. He's not going to make that trauma go away. He's only going to make that look like it's more valid. Therefore, you're not going to grow because you can't get the help that you really need, okay? Shut up, Trey. So, not only gammas, but also omega males. There are a lot of people who want to be the alpha, and as a result, they happen to be extremely lost. There is no clarity as to how they move in this world, and they're going head on with people who are natural born leaders, or more like the alphas of society. So I have to say this, okay, before I end this. What I want you guys to understand is this: Kevin Samuels is becoming extremely unglued. I saw this guy on his show and he was all over the place. I don't know if he had some really good wine. It could have definitely been the fact that he had some good wine he was drinking. Okay. He was. But he was like, women, single women, stop giving other women advice. He wants women to stop listening to the advisement of other women. Mario says, men, stop giving women advice. Women are sick of you giving them advice. Mario makes a valid point. Kevin Samuels has lost his damn mind. Like, a woman needs to be guided and shaped by another woman, period. So just because a woman is single doesn't mean that she lacks the proper insight and wealth of knowledge and, wisdom that will help guide and cultivate those other women. However, I said that right. I do have to say that all in all, there are some truths to some of the things that Kevin Samuels was saying. So women, I caution you guys, just like I do the guys, about who you choose to be, your personal spokeswoman, okay? Don't follow the advisement of every woman, because every woman is not fit to lead anyone. Okay? Choose wisely as to which women you choose to align yourself with. Choose wisely as to what energy you choose to kind of gravitate some of your insights, right, from. Because at the end of the day, everybody has something valuable to add to the conversation. Everybody has something valuable to add to your wisdom. in your journey of becoming. Now, does that mean that Kevin Samuels is 100% wrong, or that Mario J is 100% wrong? It just means that the reality is there are lots of women that are out here single, and they will remain single because they have no substance in the same areas that you hold substance in. And so as a result, when you find yourself in relationships, they may be that girlfriend that's on that phone line like, girl, what? You're in a relationship? What? Y'all going out tonight, girl? But don't you know I had already made plans for us to go out to the club, girl? I got you a dress. I'm coming over there. I'm about to. No, we're going out. No excuses. He can't control you, boo. He cannot control you. He is not your husband. Listen, ladies, if you have somebody that is doing that type of stuff, Kevin Samuels is right. Hang up the damn phone. Do not feed into the craziness of your friends when your friends are single and a threat to the security of your livelihood. The same goes for men. And you know, that used to be only a male problem. I'm going to be honest about that. Back in the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s, that was only a man problem. Men used to do stuff like that. Like, what? She got you whooped, man. Now women are doing it? What the fuck? What's going on here? Really? So there are a lot of things that make me very curious about this society today, okay? Understand this. Social comparison will get you all screwed up every single time. Find your sense of self by doing some deep-seated introspective work. Look within, find out what really values, what your values really are, the things that you really value in life, by way of looking at the things that you typically put a lot of your energy towards, right? Stop taking the advice of other people over the insights of self. Whenever you take any advice, people, whether you're male or female, understand the advice is meant to shape your position, not negate your position wholeheartedly. So what that means is that other people have something valuable to add to your purview, but it doesn't have to replace your already existent understanding of your situation. It's just meant to expand, right? That may lead to you changing your mind, no doubt. But it doesn't lead to you pedestalizing and coming to this, aid and saving a person, right? No. Loyalty is due to anyone. So be loyal without being foolish, okay? Like, protect your sense of self, protect your peace. Stop being out here just following whatever comes on the internet just because. So, let me. A gamma male, for my comprehension, is a female like a male. No, a gamma male isn't. It's a male who possesses or displays more feminine characteristics. Remember what I just talked about, the differences in the two shifting behaviors from then to now? No, betas and gammas are not the same. So it's about the amount of feminine energy or masculine energy a person possesses. And so typically masculine energy does not become toxic. It becomes conducive of the situation. It's a necessary component. For men to lead, they have to possess a certain level of know-how, of zest, security, right? Because they have to know that they can take on any challenge that may come about, because they're supposed to protect and provide both synonymously. And that's pretty hard sometimes, right? So if you looked at animals in the wild, that's the best way for you to kind of see. If you look at how hyenas function versus how a lion function, and how the king of the jungle, lion, versus the other lions operate, then you kind of get a really good idea of what it looks like to have many alphas around amongst other alphas. But it looks like to have gammas or hyenas, right, amongst the entire pride. So, yeah. Somebody's got to run your household. Kevin Samuels, he's something. He's something. He's like a combination of a gamma male and an omega male, the imitation of the alpha. No, toxic masculinity should be avoided at all costs. Just because it's the name of your show doesn't mean that it's the ish. Okay? I heard that in the interview. That's unfortunate. But you guys, like, I just can't. I really cannot. Like, you know, Kevin Samuels he's definitely entertained me, if nothing else. The last 24 hours or so have been entertaining as I've been trying to watch his content. When I come back for that video around Umar, it's a whole different energy. Just wait for it. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll say. And I'll leave it at that. But yeah, nobody makes toxic masculinity look good, sir. Nobody. It's toxicity, literally. So again, big shout out to Moneyboard Trey and his innovative techniques. You know, you guys are gonna check out my outro in just a moment, and I'm like super thankful. I really am. Yeah, you should map out you some time then, because when I go live tonight at 7:30, listen, I'm here for it. I'm here for it 100%. So that's my show. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you find somebody that is influential for you to follow and all that good stuff. Don't let people kill your joy or your propensity to live and be great. You know, you guys go out there, make good choices, be good to one another, and don't be hateful, because that's terrible. It's terrible. Later days.
Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I whip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bonnet. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.